noticing is the trend on increasing use of social media, Facebook, Twitter, personal websites, and it's dramatically taken off even in the last 18 months. And it can be sort of intimidating. We've discovered more and more very pervasive urban myths in the marketplace about the way these technologies work and how to use them. One of the first big blow-ups happened involving the Public Service Commission, which many of you may be familiar with. It's the statewide board that regulates utilities in a very limited capacity. There was a very, very pervasive urban myth around Tallahassee and in relatively tech-savvy circles that BlackBerry PIN messaging was somehow different from text messaging. Who in the room owns BlackBerry? How many of you use the BBM or PIN function in that BlackBerry? There are two different kinds of text messaging. There is SMS text messaging, which anyone with any kind of cell phone has. Okay. Then there is a proprietary variation of text messaging called BBM or PIN messaging. Depending on when you started using a BlackBerry, you call it one or the other. It was widely believed that, and PIN messaging or BBM is proprietary to the Research in Motion BlackBerry machine. It was widely believed that PIN messaging was technologically analogous to the Nextel beep beep that people used to use 10 years ago. People thought you were typing a message and it was going from your phone, from my phone to Ginger's phone, and it wasn't going through any servers. It was being transmitted as if by a two-way radio signal. Okay. In the wake of the PSC scandal, we discovered that was completely false. Okay. BlackBerry messages and PINs go through the same server as email. They are traceable, they are retainable, and they are, when they are discussing public business, they are absolutely 100% public record. There were commissioners on the Public Service Commission who believed that they were having non-public conversations by BlackBerry PIN, all of which were produced on an Excel spreadsheet and disclosed to the media. Two of those Public Service Commissioners lost their jobs this week. And a lot of Public Service Commissioners were subjected to some remarkably widespread, highly embarrassing publicity that occupied hundreds of thousands of column inches throughout the statewide media in the last year. Your PIN messages are not secret. You cannot hide them. It is going through your email servers just like your agency email. Your text messages, your SMS text messages, go through the same servers as email. They are traceable, they are retainable, and if you are saying stupid things by text message, they absolutely will come back to haunt you. This is the next wave of litigation that's going to start kicking in. Your constituents are expecting to have access to these things if they believe you are conducting public business by text message, which, by the way, I would strongly advise against doing. But there is wonderful new emerging technology out there, and we want you to use it. We want you to use social media. We want you to use your websites. We want you to use Facebook and Twitter in the appropriate capacities in order to be more transparent to the public and not less. You should not consider texting or pinning as an alternative to meeting in a properly noticed public meeting where minutes are taken. It is not a suitable alternative. It may very well get you sued. And more importantly, it also may very well get you to spend some time as a guest of the Commonwealth, so to speak.
On Twitter, you were never more than 140 characters away from getting yourself fired. And that is the absolute gospel truth. There are people who have gotten sued over their Twitter status updates. There was a college student in Chicago who complained about the apartment complex in which she was living, and the apartment complex sued this college student for defamation. Thankfully, that college student was able to secure pro bono counsel to represent her, but 6 months of her life were spent in federal court dealing with a massive defamation lawsuit that she otherwise could have spent going to college or getting a job or getting a life. Even if you win in these types of litigation suits, you spend a lot of time in the newspaper when you might otherwise be living your life. And it's a lot of hassle and a lot of potential expense that could that could cause a lot of trouble for you, your families, and your colleagues. So people, there's always this sort of, running news ticker of status updates. The same thing now happens on Facebook. Your Facebook status updates could also get you in all sorts of trouble if you elect to publish something stupid. And, but you have more characters with which to hang yourself in a Facebook status update rather than a Twitter. The short version of the story is, once you put it on the internet, it's out there forever. You can't stop it, you can't delete it, and it is absolutely not private. If you put it on the internet, it is public, period. If you're going to create an online persona on Twitter or Facebook, you need to operate under the assumption that every single thing you put on that website or in that status update could be published in every newspaper in America tomorrow. You need to understand that, even if someone is technically not your Facebook friend, there is always some 12-year-old in Romania with a hacking code who can go through and look at your site. Has anyone been hacked on Facebook? It happens all the time. Every so often you'll get you'll get a message from your pastor at church that's sending you to a porn site. That's because the pastor got hacked. It's not because, And it has been known to happen. You also want to be really careful about the pictures that you post on Facebook or TwitPic or anything you release from your, from TweetDeck or any of those meta posting type sites. Those photos are public. If you don't want that photo to be taken, manipulated, and reproduced, you may want to refrain from posting it, which would be something you might seriously want to consider when you're posting family photos or pictures of your underage children. You need to decide, if you're going to use these things as a personal page or as a work-related page. We came up with necessity breeds all kinds of creativity, particularly in government. And we reached the point where we really didn't have the travel budget to travel around from place to place and do personalized trainings for every city and county in Florida. And so we decided that we would take all of the training materials, the manuals, the opinions, why is this not going anywhere? Please enter my what? Oh, okay. You know what? We're just going to skip that for a minute. Okay. What we did was we created a website, myflsunshine.com. Okay. We got our IT guys together. We got all of our Attorney General opinions relating to public records in the Sunshine Law. We took the entire Sunshine Manual, which we write every year, and the First Amendment Foundation produces. We put it online. We also created YouTube videos, training videos. Turns out YouTube accounts are free, and you have 10 minutes to say or do whatever you need to do in that time period. So we borrowed Aka's TV studio and made a series of 10-minute training videos on redaction and fees and costs and law enforcement records and Facebook and social networking and public records. We put it all online. If you don't feel like watching me talk, you can read the transcripts, which are published right next to the videos. And you can look those up. You need to make sure that your clerks and your administrative staff and your people who deal with the public and handle requests from the public or the media for public records read that stuff, watch that stuff, know that stuff. You wouldn't believe how many times I get a phone call from, an NBC affiliate or a member of the media who doesn't identify themselves as a member of the media when they contact such and such government entity. And it turns out that the clerk stepped out and their friend thought they were being really funny by saying, nope, you can't have those records. You'll have to submit that request in writing. That's a problem. You need to be, one man's joke is another man's violation of the public records laws. Your staff needs to understand what their rights and responsibilities are under the public records law. And, especially your people who are on the front lines dealing with the public need to understand that it does not matter if the person requesting those public records is the most obnoxious, reprehensible person ever to walk the face of God's green earth, and every single one of your counties has one of those people, none of you are special. Big county, small county, doesn't make a difference. It does not matter who they are. It does not matter why they want the records. What matters is that all records made and received in connection with the transaction of government business are public records. They are subject to inspection and copying by any person under reasonable circumstances all the time. And you are responsible for that. And if you are not vigilant and appropriately responsive to any such person who requests these things, you are subject to not only civil but criminal penalties as well. For your purposes, the civil penalties are almost worse than the criminal penalties because under the public records statute, plaintiffs are entitled to an expedited hearing, which means you're showing up in front of the judge often in less than a month. And when a plaintiff wins suing against your county, they get you to pay their attorney's fees, which makes your constituents all kinds of unhappy, particularly when you are laying off your own employees and downsizing, and then you get to pay 50 grand in lawyers' fees because your clerk wouldn't hand over a copy of the county's budget. It happens, it's embarrassing, it costs people their jobs. And it is fantastically avoidable with just a teeny tiny bit of due diligence on your part. There are lots of attorneys who are very willing to take these cases on a contingency fee basis because they get to court quickly and they collect their fees once it's all over. Yeah, don't push it. The Attorney General's office is the largest law firm in Florida, technically. We've got like 4 people who work in IT in a cubicle in a stuffy mental hospital-looking building over in Tallahassee. We have all of our contracts online. We have all of our budgets online. We have our entire organizational chart online. And we save ourselves a lot of time and hassle by putting this stuff on our website so that anyone can pull it up. It saves us copying costs, it saves us staff time. And putting these things on, they're going to be the most frequently requested items. Now, and if you are keeping that stuff current, you run it through a scanner, PDF it, put it on your website, and get it over with. It solves a lot of problems and it saves a lot of time. A lot of what you guys are having to deal with, particularly in years in which there may or may not be people running for office, every conspiracy theorist on the planet is circling overhead, city, county, local, state, every kind of government office. The more you get out there, the more you have PDF'd and working, the more you kill the conspiracy theory. And diffusing the conspiracy theory is, doing your job well is your best defense. And putting it out there and making it accessible to anyone at 3 a.m. in their bunny slippers sitting in front of their computer in between games of World of Warcraft is an excellent way to save your staff time during regular working hours when they're doing their real jobs. The final approved contract tends to be something that is very, very frequently requested by the vendors who don't win after the RFP. So just go ahead and put it on there. Your vendors need to understand this, and most of you do, but you need to make it clear, there's the temporary exemption, when you're collecting, the bids, and that exemption expires. Most of the exemptions created under Florida law expire. Okay, they're temporary. Under the Florida public records law, the default is always openness. If it has something to do with government business, it's open, it's public, it's subject to any, to completely public open disclosure. But after you do an RFP, you do competitive bidding, the losers always want to know who won and how much money, did they lose it by $5? Did they lose it by 10,000? No, just, if you put it out there, it solves the problem and you don't get people squabbling about these things all day long, which often happens. I think it very much can be a very good idea to be on Twitter. I know some county attorneys are saying to stay away from it, and I think sometimes some elected officials might be advised not to go on Twitter or Facebook because of their loose cannon tendencies. But no. But as a general, I'll give you one example. My absolute favorite government presence on Twitter is Amber Alert. You have a zillion followers on Twitter. You can Amber Alert all over the state. And that, Amber Alerts, that's the difference between finding that 14-year-old girl alive in a Walmart parking lot in Polk County rather than dead in Georgia 5 days later. We are saving little kids. We're finding them alive and unharmed in hours rather than dead in days, or not at all. You could really, torture yourself thinking about what could have happened if there was such a thing as an Amber Alert when Adam Walsh was kidnapped, or Kayla McKean, or some of those little kids' names from around the state that make your blood run cold 10 years after the fact, even if you'd never lived there and had nothing to do with it. In Amber Alerts, you can get push messages on your phone. Some of you might get these things blown, you're all getting either Fox News or CNN or something blowing up on your phone when, Elena Kagan says something during the hearings or some latest thing about BP. You could be, and your law enforcement presence is able to get a ton of information out there right now, saving little kids. If you want to do a county Facebook page, get your minutes of your county commission meetings PDF'd and on that Facebook page the next day. On your county website. I get so many complaints of people who are whining about county commission minutes taking too long to get put up. And they're going, they haven't published anything since October of 2008. That's bogus. Scan them, post them, be done with it. There are some people who are going to wallpaper their houses with it. What do you care? It's not your house. But I hope. But the more you put out there, and the more appearance, the more you are aggressively transparent, the more you're diffusing the conspiracy theory. And that saves everybody a whole lot of hassle. So, now, there are people who might not want to have that kind of a presence because they maybe don't have the same internal monologue filter that you might want to have as an elected official. Facebook, Twitter, your personal website. If you've had one cocktail too many or you have some anger management problems, you might not want to have the ability to pull up your iPhone and fire something off that's nasty about somebody. Speaking of iPhones and BlackBerries and things, when it comes to your phones and your email, you want to take a nod to ancient Jewish dietary laws. Keep your business life on one, your personal life on the other. Don't serve them on the same plate and don't mix them, okay? Keep your milk and your meat separate. My parents don't have my government BlackBerry number, okay? They have my iPhone number. My cousins, my family, my friends, my personal life is on the little pink iPhone. My government email and my Attorney General stuff is on the BlackBerry. Anyone wants my stupid BlackBerry statements, they want to sit and look at the thing by hand, they're more than welcome to do so, because my work is on there and there's nothing on there that, I don't want anyone to see. My Facebook page is not work-related. My Facebook page is a personal page. There are reporters that I know from my work in Tallahassee who are my Facebook friends. I know that, really, anyone with a hacker code or, any kind of fastidiousness could theoretically see my Facebook page. And thankfully, I'm really a big geek, so I don't do anything that exciting anyway. But I'm not worried about people seeing my photos, and I'm not worried about people seeing my status updates, because it usually involves, me making fun of myself. If you're conducting county business on your personal phone, that record is public record. Someone could, go after, there's always going to be somebody who's going to go try and get a court order for your personal phone. And it's trickier it's really tricky with law enforcement agencies, because, if an elected sheriff is hearing from a CI, those redactions can be really tricky. But yeah, if someone really wants your phone records, they're going to get them. But if you are demonstrating, we don't want you throwing your phone out the window. We don't want you to, give up on technology and be a total Luddite. That's just, you just want to you want to keep, those things separate. And if there is an appearance, sometimes you are just going to have some gadfly who's going to insist that you're selling secrets to the Russians on your personal iPhone. And in that case, you just say, you know what, dude, fine. Here's the record. I called my wife 45 times last week. We were planning a party. She wanted to make sure I got the right size shrimp. And just, but You always want to err on the side of just releasing it, and and it shuts people up. And you've seen a number of elected officials who just who threw down the gauntlet in favor of transparency, and it completely diffused the story. I mean, look at Nikki Haley. Oh, you think I had an affair? Show me the proof. Oh, wait, there wasn't any. Thanks for playing. Have a nice day. And she went on to win a primary. There are going to be times when, especially local governments, you get elected to the county commission and your friends are like, I got a buddy on the county commission, and they're going to send you emails relating to government business to your Hotmail account. And you can't control what people send you. It's just a fact of life. The thing to do is, when you hit reply, CC your government account. Because if they see 100 emails and 15 of them are CC'd from your Hotmail account, that's, it's going to look like you're being responsible and that you're not hiding anything. It diffuses the conspiracy theory. But, what you don't want is for some third party to leak your Hotmail while you're discussing government business and you have no archived copies in your own account. The law is, the application of the public records law is absolutely content driven. It depends on, if it's government business, it doesn't matter. It's discoverable. If it's not, if it's, really, if you're on your, I would, if for whatever reason, your iPhone's dead and you get on your county commission BlackBerry and you say to your wife, I can't pick up the kids, I'm stuck in a meeting. That isn't a public record. You may as well go ahead and release it anyway, but that technically isn't a public record because it is not public business. But good records management on your part. Nothing will rile up the natives faster than you doing a bunch of government business on your Hotmail account. And when the local gadfly does the public records request, you say, well, that's 6 months worth of my AOL email, and I'm going to need you to pay my hourly rate to go through and pull that up. That will have 3 newspapers and 12 angry citizens standing in front of your office with flaming pitchforks. But if you do good management on the front end, you will save yourself a lot of hassle. I had some nasty woman insist that she wanted all emails mentioning her name from my account in the last week. And I just sat down and hit forward 35 times. And it was done in 5 minutes, and that woman went away for like 90 days. It was awesome. And you can do that too. And when you have the opportunity to get these things, PDF it, have it sitting there, have it sitting in your email account, and hit forward. Kill them with kindness and transparency, and be done with it, so you can get back to governing and stuff. There's a couple of different kinds of accounts that you can have on Facebook. And some of you will see this with your favorite bands or your favorite writers. You could create a fan site for ABC County. I love Palm Beach County. It is awesome. Here's the palm tree. Here's our minutes from the county commission meeting. Here's all the phone numbers you need. And there's no wall for comments. It's just a fan site. But it's a way to see, and that's a good way to skip it, because there's, famous writers and actors and things who don't want, the Hinckleys of the world leaving creepy, I'm coming to kill you messages on their wall. People are going to pull the ethics commission thing because it's free. That's just, there will be people who are going to do that, and in a year with digits like this, it's going to happen. And it's a pain in the butt, but it's an occupational hazard. I think, with keeping your government records, you just want to be very, very mindful of your graphics, the way you're phrasing things, and the kind of pictures you're posting. If you're creating a campaign website, you're going to put different, don't go swiping county logos, don't go, keep it about, there's content management stuff, and there's people like Jordan Rayner, and Patrick Ruffini and the big guys who create those images, but it really is a matter of stylistic choices and image placement and, controlling your image and keeping, you just have to really be very mindful of your content. And err on the side of conservatism as far as what your content's going to be. Everybody needs to work with IT. Okay, IT does not want you screen grabbing your Facebook page every day, but there are lots of different kinds of software that you guys already have built into your different networks, regardless of what platform you're using, that can save this stuff. And you know, when in doubt, consult the GSR. You go to the Florida Department of State Division of Library and Information Services. It's their website has that retention schedule for keeping and destroying records. You know, and the Department of State does not want you to keep 8 million sheets of paper. They don't want you printing your Facebook page every day and keeping a giant 3-ring binder of it. You know, everyone wants, you know, we want to keep these things PDF'd and appropriately archived so that we can give them away and so we can save some shelf space. You know, every year for the last few years, there's always legislation proposed to switch to internet-only based notice. And you know, that legislation is routinely killed. There's a few reasons for that. First, there is still current research reflecting that significant portions of the population do not have regular internet access. Particularly among the elderly, among the Black population and the Hispanic population. There are a lot of people who do not have computers in their home or do not have internet access as a routine part of their day-to-day lives. Also, and a lot of local governments are saying we're spending, you know, thousands upon thousands of dollars on these ads and we don't know if people are even reading them, and newspaper circulation's going down the toilet anyway. But that really brings me back to if you make your website a place where people go on a routine basis because they can see budgets, because they can see meeting minutes, because they can see the records that are frequently requested, you know, the numbers could shift and set more of a rational basis for making more and more notice acceptable by your website. You want to work with your IT, you want to, you know, talk to your clerks and find out what people are requesting all the time. You know, I'm not saying you need to make a searchable email portal for each one of your commissioners, but you know, when you know that something big and controversial is coming, brace for it and make an effort to put it out there. Example, the state attorney's office in Orlando has done a really, really good job. Every time there's any kind of Casey Anthony anything, they've got copies at Kinko's, they've got stuff coming out on their website, they've got their press secretary, you know, who has things PDF'd, accessible, and ready to roll, because everybody knows that that is the big, nasty I-4 corridor with lots and lots of statewide and national coverage case. Now, they know that they're going to want her phone calls. They know they're going to want her silly handwritten letters that she's passing back and forth to that other inmate. They know that all of those records related to that case are going to be frequently requested. They were very good in Heathrow about all the Tiger Woods police reports. Everyone knew that as soon as there was a police report with Tiger Woods' name on it, that there was going to be significant public interest in that. And if you have the, God forbid, big splashy murder, or you have the poorly behaved celebrity who's, you know, committed some public atrocity, you know that the public is going to be coming for this. You know the media is going to want it. And a little bit of advanced planning is a good thing. Also, no more putting things into TIFF files. Seriously, it's annoying and it drives your constituents crazy. PDF is your industry standard. Just do it. So yeah, I mean, you know, a pint of sweat will save you a pound of blood, or a gallon of blood, rather. I think that was the Patton quote. Sorry about goofing that one. But you know, putting a little bit of elbow grease in on the front end will save you a whole lot of hassle in the long run, and particularly if you've got, you know, some group of gadflies, and everybody's got at least one. There's one very, very small county. Well, there's several very, very small counties in Florida, but one in particular has a fantastically aggressive local gadfly who literally has nothing better to do but harass local government entities all over the place. And the sheriff's office in this county got really, really smart. And they just started buttering him up and bringing him in and giving him coffee and talking to him real sweet. And they just handled him. And he hates the county commission. He hates pretty much every other local government entity, but he loves him some sheriff's office. No, and he's not suing the sheriff's office. He's not dragging them into the Commission on Ethics, because the sheriff's office ladies, they make like designing women, and they just butter him up with Southern goodness, and just they have eliminated the threat. And that is, You know, whenever you get these crazy people, you always say yes, never say no. It's yes, but, oh, you want 8,000 copies of you know, traffic citations. Yes, and it will, you know, take X number of hours and X number of dollars to complete that. Or if you'd like, we can help you refine your request for something more specific. You know, and if you're responsive and you're keeping in touch with people and you're staying on top of it, it helps to solve a lot of problems, and it takes a whole lot of the crazy out of the room. And I don't know about you, but I could totally go for less crazy in my life. All of this stuff, you know, it doesn't need to be intimidating. It doesn't need to be